everybody, Cinema Sickness here with this week's Weekly Watch, where we take a look at all the titles I've watched throughout the week, and I briefly discuss them. And this year marks the last week of my Merry Movie Marathon, where I've watched nothing but holiday-related titles from Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve. I'm loving this. I had so much fun watching nothing but holiday-related titles for a little over a month now. It's been great. I love Christmas movies, and this is the only time of year I watch them. I love Thanksgiving movies. I love New Year's movies. I just love great holiday movies. Watched a ton. Got a lot more here to show you, so let's get down to it and take a look at everything I watched in the last week of this Merry Movie Marathon. The first title I checked out this week is one I actually haven't seen since I saw this one in the theaters, and that was The Ice Harvest. Like I said, last time I saw this, I was watching it in a theater. And I definitely loved it my second time around, really enjoyed it the first time I saw it, and certainly enjoyed it the second time I saw it. A great, dark comedy. Definitely has some funny moments, but again, dark, twisted, funny moments. Billy Bob Thornton, John Cusack steal money from their boss on Christmas Eve. Things don't go so right. It seems like the perfect crime, and then slowly but surely, things start to get pretty messed up and don't go so well for them. And in the end, do things work out? Well, I'm not going to completely ruin it, but they work out for some people and not so much for other people. It's a pretty fun ending, though I gotta see the ending, though, I kind of wanted to see more, because there's some people left dead at the end of the movie, one of them being a cop. I guess that's not spoiling too much, and with a cop dead, people are going to look into this, and again, I don't want to give too much away, but with the remaining cast at the end of the movie, I would assume they're going to end up being hunted down, because once the investigation goes into how this cop and the other people who died in this movie died and things are pieced together, a manhunt's going to go out. So, I really kind of wanted to see where the rest of the story went. At the end, they're just driving away, and they got the money, they drove away, everything seems fine for them, but if you really think about it, not everything's going to be fine. Eventually, they're going to start to be hunted down by the police for these crimes that were committed. People died, even though they might get away with it, and they might, maybe they won't be charged for anything, or at least be given very small sentences, because the crimes don't. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. I'm trying to explain this without spoiling, who survives in the end and who dies. I don't want to give it away. But let's just say who does survive might not be charged with anything for the most part. Maybe a couple things here and there, but nothing major. Certainly not murder. But regardless, a manhunt's probably going to go out. They're definitely going to want to question our survivors. So I would like to know what happens after this movie's over. I would like to hear more story. But besides that, it's a great watch. Again, very, very, very enjoyable. Has some great funny moments. Just a fantastic dark comedy. If you're a fan of dark comedies, The Ice Harvest is one to check out. Though I gotta say, there's one thing. If you remember from when this movie came out, they were comparing it to Bad Santa. It was this year's Bad Santa. Why? Because the movie takes place on Christmas Eve and stars Billy Bob Thornton. That's the only thing Bad Santa related this movie has to do with. It's nothing like Bad Santa whatsoever. So don't go by those horrible, horrible quotes that some idiot gave this movie. Nothing like Bad Santa, but a great movie nevertheless. Definitely one to check out during your holiday season. The next title I checked out is one I've definitely wanted to see ever since I first started hearing about it this year. This is a movie I've skipped over for a long time now because it just didn't look like my type of movie. I thought, it's not really the type of movie I'm going to enjoy. It looks like a chick flick, and I have nothing wrong with chick flicks. I have plenty in my collection. I love them. I really enjoy this movie. But it just looked like one of the ones I wasn't going to enjoy, or at least that's what I was just assuming, until I started hearing more about this film. I started reading reviews. People on the radio were talking about it. People on Facebook were talking about it. Everybody was talking about this movie this year, and I was intrigued. It sounded really good. A lot of people have it on their list of their top 10 favorite holiday movies, so I really wanted to see this movie. So when I picked it up, I immediately watched it the next day, and that was Love Actually. This was a great story. I mean, look at that cast. That cast alone is part of what sold me on this, actually. I mean, just a fantastic lineup there, and everybody is fantastic in this movie. It's all about a bunch of different couples and the way love works for them. Some it works out for, some it doesn't, some have issues, some there's problems here and there, but some are doing well. It's just a whole bunch of weird, different relationships and different types of love, and just a really, really good holiday story. It all takes place during the Christmas season. A great watch. I love how things work out for some people, not so much for other people. Just absolutely brilliant. Though I gotta say, in the beginning when Hugh Grant is talking about people think the world's getting worse and worse and worse, but he thinks it's great. There's still so much love in the world and whatnot. And he says when the planes hit the towers in 9/11 that no calls on the phone. All the calls on the phone were to loved ones. The people on the plane who called their loved ones were calls of love and whatnot. They weren't calls of hate. And I was like, yeah, but who would do that? Who would? I mean, I didn't really get that. I was thinking to myself, well, yeah, but I mean, if the plane's about to hit the towers, you're about to die. Are you really going to be like, I'm going to call Bob? I hate that guy so much. No, nobody's going to do that. If anybody on that plane was full of hate, with the exception of the terrorists, anybody on that plane was full of hate, they probably weren't going to call somebody. So I was like, that's kind of just a weird opening. I don't know, just something that bothered me. It just sort of, of course the call is going to be to loved ones. You're not going to call somebody you hate. You're going to call somebody you love. It only makes sense. But anyway, I still think the world's full of hate. But anyway, still a great, great watch. Definitely one I'd recommend checking out. Again, it's a bunch of fantastic stories with a bunch of fantastic actors. Just a great, great watch. And what I really liked about this, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you have two Harry Potter professors actually in love, in a relationship in this movie, which I found really cool. I kept watching and thinking that's so weird that I'm watching two professors from Hogwarts, married with a family. Very weird, but still a great, great watch. One I would definitely recommend checking out. If you're like me, and for whatever reason you just skipped over this one, maybe you thought, it's a chick flick I don't want to see. Well, you know what? Watch it. It's really, really good, actually, and a great holiday movie. One I could see myself watching every year. It was that good. This is definitely one I'll probably check out again next year just because it was so fantastic. So, Love Actually, definitely check it out. And then came Christmas. And of course, on Christmas, I watched the same movie I watch every Christmas. Say it with me. A Christmas Story. What else would I watch? I watch this one every single Christmas, no matter what. I don't care what happens. You can say, here's $1 million to watch another movie. I'd say, well, if I can get around to it, I will. But I watch A Christmas Story first. I woke up, put this in, immediately had to watch it. I love this film. And I watched my HD DVD version because even though I have it on Blu-ray and and VHS, why would I watch it on those formats when I can watch it on HD DVD? Love watching stuff on HD DVD, and it's a great movie. Do I really need to talk about A Christmas Story? I'm sure we've all seen a million times. If you haven't seen it, oh my God, are you ever missing out? This is, in my mind, two of the greatest Christmas movies ever made is A Christmas Story and Home Alone. I think I said this when I reviewed Home Alone. Home Alone is the one I always watch in the beginning of the holiday season to start off my Christmas watching season. It just gets me in that great Christmas mood. And this one here is the one I always watch on Christmas because I think this is the best Christmas movie as far as the one represents actual Christmas, not necessarily getting you into the Christmas spirit. This one's just one of those ones you want to watch actually on Christmas. But again, guys, if you haven't seen this movie, you are so missing out on one of the, if not the greatest Christmas movie ever made. It's funny. It has a great story. It's just absolutely perfect. I'm sure we all know that. Like I said, I can't imagine we all haven't seen this movie. But if you haven't, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to get all into it. It's a great story about a kid growing up, just during Christmas. And he just wants this toy so bad. All the stuff he goes through to get it and his family and things that are going on in pop culture at the time. Just all this great stuff just about this kid growing up during Christmas. It makes you feel like a kid again watching this. So again, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, go out and buy it. I know the holidays are over. I don't care. Buy it. Watch it anyway. You can probably get this right now for like 50% off at places like FY and stuff like that. So if you haven't seen it, buy it. Watch now. I don't care if the holidays are over. You have to see this one. I don't want to tell you to wait another year to check it out. No, watch it now. We're still close enough to Christmas. I'll give you a pass. Check this movie out. It's fantastic. But that wasn't all I watched on Christmas. I actually watched a second title that night, and that was Biography, Jesus, His Life. Now, am I religious? No, I'm not a religious person. I consider myself to be an agnostic. I can't say that I can't say that one religion is right, one's wrong. I don't know. I have no way to prove whether every religion is real or not. Who am I to say whether there is some type of God out there or not? I can't prove there is or that there isn't, so I can't say one way or another. So I do consider myself to be an agnostic. But even though I'm not religious, I don't practice a religion, I still am interested in religions. Jesus, especially Jesus, it's history. I do believe there was a person named Jesus, whether he was, whether he was actually, the son of God or performing miracles or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. Again, who am I to say? But I still am intrigued, as it is history. And every Christmas, I usually watch my biography of Santa Claus. I have another biography documentary all about Santa Claus, a great, great watch. But I thought this year, since it is Christmas, and Christmas is a religious holiday, obviously, about Jesus, Christ Mass, obviously, I thought, why not watch my biography on Jesus? And it was interesting. Learned a lot of things that I did not know about Jesus. This isn't going to be for everybody, but if you are into, I guess if you are religious, if you're a Christian, or if you're just like me, you're just interested in history. Maybe you're interested in learning about religions. Maybe you're interested in learning about famous people in the world, like Jesus. It is definitely worth checking out. It was a little long, though. It was 100 minutes, so maybe a little bit longer than I was expecting, but regardless, a great documentary. It's a biography documentary. If you've seen one, you know what I'm talking about. They're all pretty much the same. They're great, very well done, and certainly this one was enjoyable. Like I said, learned a lot about Jesus that I didn't know before, and there's not much more to say about it than that. It's just a biography of the life of Jesus. So if that intrigues you, this is one to check out. Then I watched Fred Claus, and this was a movie that I was going to skip over this year. This movie, Deck the Halls, Christmas with the Cranks, fantastic movies, ones I definitely enjoy, but ones I watch every single year. I've been watching them every year since like those movies came out, and all of the great films. I sort of wanted to give them a little bit of a break this year, watch some other stuff, and then maybe watch these again next year. But I did just pick this up on Blu-ray, and I thought, you know what, I got to see it in high definition. Let's see what it looks like, and it looks great. And this is a great movie. I do enjoy this one. Certainly, even though I watch it every year, it's certainly not that it's not like I didn't enjoy it this year. It was great. Some people don't like this movie, and I think it's all because of Vince Vaughn. And I can understand how people sort of have this love-hate relationship with Vince Vaughn. He does even start to get on my nerves a little bit here and there, and he does all that stupid rant all the time and drives me nuts. Of course, we get a nice big Vince Vaughn rant in this, a few of them actually, but it is what it is. If you're watching a Vince Vaughn movie, it's just kind of come to be expected. You're going to get a Vince Vaughn rant. But I really do enjoy this movie, all about Fred Claus, who's the big brother of Saint Nick, Santa Claus. And, he resents him a little bit for something he did to him when they were both little, and all these years later, because they don't age, so it's like tons of years later, he still resents him, and things aren't so great, but he comes to the North Pole to get some money and screws things up, and things are looking really, really bad for Santa. He might end up getting shut down, but of course, in the end, everything works out. Fred gets a heart, basically. It's one of those stories, but it's what you expect. It's a Christmas story. Of course, everything's going to work out in the end. Of course, mean, grinchy, grumpy Fred is going to, in the end, become this heartfelt character, and everything's going to work out. It is what it is. But it's a great watch. I love it. It's funny. It's enjoyable. Just a great Christmas story. And best of all, Paul Giamatti as Santa Claus. Man, do I love Paul Giamatti. As I said many times before, one of my all-time favorite actors, and he's great in this movie. So definitely one I would recommend checking out. I would say it's a modern-day holiday classic. If you're not a fan of Vince Vaughn, though, you might be a little annoyed by this one. But if you're like me, and even though Vince Vaughn might get in your skin, you still don't mind him, this is one to see. Next, I checked out Scrooge, and I watched this one the very same night that I picked it up, because this is one I've been wanting to see. And I am a big, big fan of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. I love it. I have just a ridiculous amount of different renditions of this story on every format, in cartoons, in puppets, a musical version. Just so many different versions of it. Things like Scrooged with Bill Murray. All kinds of just really interesting different tellings of the classic Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And what I like about every single rendition I have, they're all different. It might all be like the same story, but they're all told a little bit different. They all put their own things in, their own little twists. And it's just a story I can't get sick of. I've been watching it since I was a little kid, and to this day, I love it. It's just such a perfect and such a great story. And like I said, with all the ridiculous amount of renditions that are out there, you have such a great amount of different titles to choose from. You can choose whatever you want. Again, you can choose something animated. You can choose something live action. You can choose a musical. You can choose the Muppets. You can choose whatever you want. Something something a little bit more interesting, like Scrooge, where it's kind of like a twisted sort of dark comedy take on on A Christmas Carol. You can watch anything. The new one with the new Disney version, I loved it. It was great. So just so many great different tellings of A Christmas Carol. And this is my first time watching this one. This is one of the last renditions of this movie I needed to get for my collection that I definitely wanted. And like I said, as soon as I picked it up, had to watch it, and it was great. This is a musical rendition, and I love all the songs in it. They're absolutely fantastic. There's this great song called I Hate People. Love that song. It is hilarious. In kind of a twisted sort of way. I find it hilarious because this guy singing about how much he hates people, Scrooge singing about how much he hates people. I find that pretty funny. But it's just such a great watch. And Albert Finley in this movie, I gotta say, the makeup they did on him was superb. He plays the young Scrooge, and he plays the old Scrooge too. And while I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait, when was this movie done? Because it actually looks like how he looks now when he's playing old Scrooge. They did such a great job on his makeup. They actually kind of captured how he looks now as an actual old person. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And I thought to myself, did he just, did he always look old? He's just one of those actors who's just always, unfortunately, looked old, or what's going on here? He couldn't have always looked like that, right? And then they go to, Christmas Past, and they show him younger, and of course he has the makeup off then. I'm like, okay, no. They just did a phenomenal job with the makeup. It's really good. So, a great rendition of A Christmas Carol. Like I said, a musical rendition. A lot of great songs in this. The story's told just amazingly well. This is just another fantastic telling of A Christmas Carol. If you were like me and you're a sucker for A Christmas Carol, you love all the different renditions out there, you got to pick them all up. If you don't have this one yet, get it. Just a fantastic telling. Really well done. Great songs. Great story. The next title I checked out, I won't lie, I sort of was only watching this one, and the reason for that being is because, as you can see behind me, you may have noticed I moved my movies around a little bit. They used to kind of fill up in the front and go to the back. Now I've done it backwards. I figured it'd look better for these videos. It fills in the back. You don't see a bunch of empty shelves now in the back where I have extra room. No, now it all looks filled. So as I was doing that, I wanted to put something in that I've seen a dozen, actually I've seen this movie more than a dozen times. I've seen this movie a lot. A movie that I've seen just a lot of times that I didn't necessarily need to be watching constantly, one that I could listen to and still know exactly what was going on because I've seen it so many times, and that was Jingle All The Way. Like I said, seen this movie a ridiculous amount of times. This actually contains an extended version. I did watch that, though I'm not exactly sure what the extended scenes are. I don't know. Like I said, I was watching. I was mostly listening to it, but I'm not sure what the extended scenes are as opposed to the theatrical scenes. Nothing I really noticed. I'll have to look that up, but regardless, I love this movie. It's great. It's classic 90s Arnold Schwarzenegger, hamming it up. It's just a story about him and his son. He's a workaholic father. He's always missing his son's karate tournaments and all that stuff. Things that his son really wants him to be there for, but he's always missing them because of work. And his son's really upset about that. But all his son wants is a Turbo Man doll, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is gonna get it for him. And it's just this story all about Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to hunt down this Turbo Man doll for his son. Sinbad, of course, gets into the mix. He's this postal worker who's a little bit crazy, also looking for a doll or action figure for his son. And it's all the hilarious that ensues with the two of them trying to hunt down a Turbo Man doll. It goes crazy from there. And of course, in the end, everything works out because Arnold Schwarzenegger, he shows up at this parade. He ends up getting into a Turbo Man costume. I won't explain exactly how that happens, but he ends up becoming Turbo Man basically at the end. And his son is all excited because he ends up getting the Turbo Man doll, but giving it to Sinbad to give to his son because the son goes, "I don't need the Turbo Man doll. I have the real thing at home." Ha ha ha! Funny, but it's an enjoyable story, though. I do find it a little bit funny that basically the kid. Just about how much he wants a toy, and I'm not gonna lie, it seems very just very much into the commercialism of Christmas and whatnot. How Christmas isn't about love and peace and happiness, or you want to keep the Christ in Christmas or whatever. I'm not religious at all, but nothing about that. It's nothing about all peace and happiness and what most people say Christmas is about. It's really about this kid just wanting a doll and his dad trying to get him this Turbo Man doll, and everything kind of working out at the end when the kid gets the doll. Basically, I find that kind of amusing, and I find it funny that this most Christmas stories are about people getting a heart and realizing the love of Christmas. Where this one's about a kid being happy because he got his Turbo Man doll, or in this case his dad, and basically a live action Turbo Man doll he's pretty excited about that. I find that amusing. But regardless, it is a fun story. If you're like me and you just love cheeseball, hamming it up, Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is one you gotta check out. Just a really fun Christmas story. Then the last Christmas title I watched, not the last title I watched, I do still have a New Year's Eve one to talk about, but the last actual Christmas movie I watched this year was An Elf's Story. Yeah, this is an Elf on the Shelf movie, and not necessarily the way I wanted to go out for Christmas. I didn't want this really to be my last Christmas movie, but I wanted to pop this one in because I picked it up and I was really curious about this. I bought this for only $4.48. This is the DVD 3D Blu-ray release, and I picked it up because of how cheap it was and the fact that it was a 3D Blu-ray release, and I really wanted to see it. I had to watch this because I wanted to know, did I waste my money or did I not? And in the end, I would say it was all right. It is just more or less a 30-minute commercial, sort of. It's the story of how the Elf on the Shelf came to be and like what the Elf on the Shelf is, basically. That's really it. There's not much more than that. Again, it's a 30-minute CGI animated cartoon all about how the Elf on the Shelf came to be. You show this one to your kids, they know the full story. You don't have to read in the book. You don't have to explain things to them. Just show them this, and they'll know exactly how the Elf on the Shelf works. That's basically what it is. But it was okay. It wasn't bad. It's not like I hated it. No, I enjoyed it for the most part, I guess. I don't do the whole Elf on the Shelf thing. Even when I have a kid, I hope I don't ever have to do that. I really don't want to do the Elf on the Shelf. But it was alright. For the price I paid for it, it was okay. The 3D was pretty decent. It wasn't anything amazing, but it was okay. And there's really not much more to say about than that. Just a mediocre story, but for the $4.48 I paid for it, I would say certainly worth it. I wouldn't say it's worth more than that. I'd say $10 at the most is all you really should pay for this. Not really worth more than that. And I'm saying this one. Get the Blu-ray Blu-ray 3D DVD copy. Don't pay more than $10 for that. If you're getting the DVD, the standard DVD release, I'd say $5 at the most. But you can pick this up at Target right now. Possibly if they sell any in stock for $4.48. Great deal. And would I recommend it? Not for everybody. If you're a big fan of Christmas specials like I am, I'm just a sucker for Christmas specials, then yes, I would say pick it up. If you're just a mediocre fan of Christmas specials, or maybe you're just not some big diehard fan, this is probably nothing you need to see. But this was an actual interesting release, because this actually comes with a making of special feature and even commentary. I thought that was really interesting. And the fact that this is I would have been surprised had this just been a Blu-ray release, but this is a 3D Blu-ray release, and it comes with a DVD as well. I was really taken back by that, because this is not a big budget movie. This is put out by Big Canoe. Let's see if I can find. I can't really read that. Big Canoe. I think it's an entertainment. It's really small on the side. So some random company called Big Canoe Entertainment put this out. After watching the making of, apparently the writers of Elf on the Shelf, they really funded this all themselves. They didn't go to Hollywood to put this out. This was an effort basically just on them alone, really. And the fact that they seem to go all out and to give you a release that if you're somebody who's interested in picking this up, a release that you might, one that you would really want. This isn't bare bones. This isn't just a BS release. This isn't even just a standard DVD release. This here's a DVD 3D Blu-ray. Again, this is in 3D. Why they do that? Because I guess they wanted to go all out and give you something great to purchase. And the fact that it has bonus features on it, again, a full-length commentary and a making of, you just would not expect that from a 30-minute short about the Elf on the Shelf. But again, the creators of this, they went all out with this release, and for those out there who are interested in picking this up, they really gave you something good to buy. So I give full credit to the creators of this for doing that. I might not have been an amazing story. I certainly wasn't blown away by it. I'm not going to recommend it for everybody, but I will say kudos to the creators of the Elf on the Shelf for putting all their time and I guess money and effort into putting this out and putting out a really good release for those interested in picking this up. That is awesome. Really think that's cool. So again, not for everybody. I would only say if you're a big diehard fan of Christmas specials, or maybe you do like the Elf on the Shelf or have a kid or something like that, this is worth picking up. Otherwise, it's nothing that you really need. And before I get done talking about this, I want to say one thing about the Elf on the Shelf. One of the reasons why I was also kind of interested in picking this up is because I'm thinking, what if the Elf on the Shelf ends up becoming like the next Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? That was only created, in the 30s? I think 1930, 1932 or something like that. So somewhere in the 30s, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was created, and so in a way, he's still a new Christmas icon, and a lot of people associate Christmas with Rudolph. When they think Christmas, Rudolph's one of the main things they think about when it comes to Christmas, and I think that's pretty interesting, the fact that the Elf on the Shelf, could become something that in a generation or 2 or 3 or however many, our kids or our kids' kids might think Elf on the Shelf just like we think of Rudolph. We don't necessarily think these days about where Rudolph came from, or we just kind of think Rudolph and think, oh, he's always been around. It's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's nothing to us that we even think about where it came from, or how somewhat recently. I know it's coming up almost 100 years, but still somewhat more recently how he was created as far as Christmas is concerned. Even the image of Santa Claus, and where Santa Claus, the image coming from, which came from Coca-Cola of all things. The big, fat, jolly Santa we think about, that comes from Coca-Cola. I mean, things like that, things that you and I might think about that just have always been around, haven't always been around, and our parents or our grandparents, they didn't remember Santa Claus like that. They didn't know of a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when they were kids. And Elf on the Shelf, who knows? This is growing in popularity every single year. It's nothing I'm really into, but it's been growing in popularity. A lot of people participate in the Elf on the Shelf. And if you think about it, someday this could be a holiday classic right here. This could be a holiday classic animated short, just like, we think of Here Comes Santa Claus, all the great Rankin Bass holiday shorts. Who knows? Because someday kids could look at the Elf on the Shelf as we look at Rudolph and whatnot as a holiday icon that's just always been there. That could be really interesting. I'm really going to keep an eye on this Elf on the Shelf thing and see where it goes. And I hope, even though I'm not into it, I still hope someday maybe this does become a holiday icon. It'd be really cool for a new holiday icon to come along. That'd be interesting. I think we're due for one anyway, I'd say. So that'd be really, really neat. And I think that this release would be really cool to have if, let's say, in 20, 30 years from now, Elf on the Shelf is a modern holiday icon that kids just see as something that's always been there. So that'd be really cool to pick this up. And I will stop ranting and raving about this. Again, like I said, not for everybody, but if you're interested, for $4.48 at Target, why not pick it up? And then the last title I watched for the year 2013 on New Year's Eve was Strange Days. I actually watched this one into the new year. I love doing that. I don't watch the ball drop. I love watching a movie in one year and going into the next year. And this is a great movie to watch on New Year's Eve, as this does take place on New Year's Eve 1999. And this was my first time ever watching Strange Days. It's a movie I've had in my collection for a little while now, but first time ever getting around to watching it. And I definitely enjoyed it. It's a fun crime thriller. Very, very enjoyable. Though a little weird, this was made in 1997 and takes place in 1999. It felt like a movie that should have been done in the 80s or something like that, because there's technology in this movie that you're like, really, in 2 years you think that's going to happen? And the world's kind of in a bit of, starting to go into a bit of a chaos. And it's like, wow, in 2 years, huh? I guess the shit's going to hit the fan. The world's going to start going pretty downhill. In 2 years, it just amuses me that they made a movie in 1997 that has a bit of a future that's not crazy. It's not like we're talking this big, crazy, futuristic world, but definitely stuff that you're like, wow, in 2 years, that's going to happen, huh? Interesting. So I found that a little amusing, but still a decent watch. It is, a crime thriller. Though you pretty much see the ending coming. There is a bad guy they're kind of trying to hunt down this movie. And as soon as the bad guy shows up in the movie, if you don't immediately go, oh, that's the bad guy, you've never seen a movie in your entire life. Especially not a movie starring that actor. I'm not going to spoil things for you, but you're pretty much going to know who the bad guy is as soon as he shows up in the beginning of the film. You're going to absolutely know right away. As soon as I'm watching it, I was thinking that's the bad guy, and sure enough, at the end, it was. But still, a very enjoyable watch, one I would definitely recommend checking out, and it's a fun movie you can watch on New Year's Eve, as this does take place on New Year's Eve. So Strange Days, I would definitely recommend it, though maybe a bit too long. It is actually over 2 hours long, so fair warning, you got to invest some time into this one. I can't really say what they could have taken out to shorten it, because could it have been shorter? Maybe it did feel a bit long for me, but I don't know, maybe the time limit warrants the actual story. It did seem to work, so I really don't know, but it is a bit long, fair warning, and it did seem a bit long. But regardless, it was still a fun movie. I would recommend checking it out, and it's always fun to have a movie you can watch on New Year's Eve. So Strange Days, one I'd recommend if you're into just great mid-90s sort of futuristic crime movies. If that's your thing, this is one you should definitely check out. So before I go, guys, there actually was one last movie that I did watch in 2013. Watched this one sort of in the middle of the week. Actually went to the theaters to watch this one, and that was Saving Mr. Banks. Now, I went into this movie with very high expectations, and I was not let down. This was a great, great movie, all about Mrs. Travers, the creator, and yes, you better call her Mrs. Travers, the creator of Mary Poppins, and just the hassle that Walt Disney had to go through to get this movie made, because she did not want this book to be made into a movie at all, and man, was she a stubborn woman. It's really great. I love watching this character just, battling basically Walt Disney to get, she doesn't want this book made, he wants it made, she has all these demands, they're not fitting what a Walt Disney movie is. It's funny to watch her basically, shut down everything, say like no to this, no to that, no to that, no to that. And it's all stuff that, ended up being in the movie, like no animation, no music, no this. It's pretty funny, and I really enjoyed that movie. Now, I know some people were complaining about all the flashbacks, but I think the flashbacks were necessary because they explained why Mrs. Travers, she loved the characters so much, why the book meant so much to her. Without those flashbacks, maybe you would have been questioning why these characters meant so much to her, why the book was family, why these characters were family. And because with the flashbacks, you find out these characters actually are family. They're based off family, and this book is very close to her with her father and everything that happened there. I don't want to spoil too much, but this book is just very, very close to her, and it shows why she is giving Mr. Disney a so much hassle getting this book made, and why she wants things to be done in certain ways, why she wants no music, why she wants no silliness, why she wants no animation, why this book is really, really serious to her, why she doesn't want things going, being too Walt Disney, too wacky, as she says all the time. She doesn't want that to happen, and it makes complete sense. So I thought the flashbacks, they made complete sense. I didn't mind them. They didn't bug me at all. They completely worked, and they explain to you why things are the way they are, and again, why this book means so much to her. So just a fantastic movie. I loved it. I loved all the actors in it. They were all fantastic. I love seeing the Sherman brothers. It's so cool that not the actual Sherman brothers, one's dead, but people actually playing the Sherman brothers in a movie. I'm like, that is so cool that they're featured. Yeah, their characters are featured in a movie. That is awesome. So a great watch, one I would definitely recommend if you're a fan of Disney movies, if you're just a Disney fan, if you're a fan of Mary Poppins. It's one you have to see. I'm not necessarily saying you need to rush out to the theaters and see it. It's not, it's not some big epic adventure or action movie with explosions, and it's not a movie you have to see in the theaters. You can wait to rent it or wait to buy it. I would recommend buying it. It was that good. I'll be picking it up for sure on Blu-ray. But again, just a fantastic watch. One I would definitely recommend. Again, if you're a Disney fan, Mary Poppins fan, anything like that, you have to see this movie eventually. It is fantastic. One I would definitely highly recommend. I don't have a single bad, negative thing to say about it. I thought it was perfect from the beginning to the end. All the flashbacks, I don't know why people were complaining. I thought they were great. So one, you gotta see. Well, guys, there you go. That is it for 2013. The last of the movies I've watched this year, and the last of my Merry Movie Marathon. Always a great way to go out at the end of the year, watching nothing but holiday-related titles from Thanksgiving to New Year's. Love doing that. It's great. Had a blast this holiday season. Certainly look forward to it next year. But what I'm really looking forward to next year is watching a ton of great Mar titles and doing a lot more weekly watch videos where I get to talk about all the great movies and a few stinkers here and there that I've watched. I had a really good time doing it this year. I know my weekly watch videos aren't my most popular videos, but for those of you who do watch them and do enjoy them, I thank you for watching. Glad you guys like these videos. This year was a really good year for watching movies. I watched 427 titles, if I'm not mistaken. That's everything from TV seasons, documentaries, movies, shorts, cartoons, you name it. Everything I checked out this week. 427 titles. I'd say it's a pretty good amount. Not my highest amount. My highest amount was a few years ago. I was working towards a goal of watching 1,000 titles in a year, and I got like 900 and something. I got really, really close, but fell a little bit short. So I've watched almost close to 1,000 titles in 1 year before, but with these videos and everything, I just don't have time to do that anymore. But still, I'd say 427 titles, a really good number. So Definitely looking forward to next year where I can watch another 427 titles, or who knows, maybe even more. Now that I have a kid on the way, I have a feeling I'll be spending a lot more time at home, so I'll probably be able to watch a lot more videos, and I'll get to enjoy some with my child, which is really cool. Definitely looking forward to that. 2014 is going to be a lot of fun. So that's it, guys. Like I always say, if you like this video, please give me a like. If you're not already subbed, please do. And if you're not already over at cinemasickness.com, head on over there, click on the shop tab, purchase yourself a Cinema Sickness sticker or a Cinema Sickness button. I'd really appreciate it. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next year. Bye.